and welcome to the IB Art Show at the Butzel Gallery. Here at the IB Art Show, 14 students at Schenectady High School have researched and developed ideas and created art. I'm your host, Susan O'Brien. Let's go in. So Nate, can you tell me about your theme?
Well, my theme is things that look cool. Yeah.
Can you extend more on that?
Well, there are some things that look cool.
And how did you develop this idea?
Well, I never really had a theme, and anytime someone asked me what my theme was, I would just say, well, I'm just kind of doing art for art's sake, and it looks cool.
Okay. And which one of your pieces came first?
This one right here. Hold that up for you. Came first. It was something I did during the summer. Had to do with doing my summer projects, anxiety, stress.
And does your work deal with any other issues such as anxiety?
No, not really at all.
So can you tell me about one of your favorite pieces?
Well, my favorite one is the scary faces. They're watercolor paint and Sharpie, and basically they were just images that I thought of. I didn't look at pictures for them. I did it during the month of October, so everything was about Halloween. So I was making scary faces.
And what about the boxes? How did you come up with that concept?
There's an artist named Charles Steckler that had a show in the gallery, and he made boxes similar to these. And I was using him as like a reference and ideas, and I made my own boxes.
Were there any other artists that inspired you?
No, not really. I just looked at Charles Steckler.
Thank you, Nate, so much for sharing your artwork with us. We really enjoyed it. Now to the next artist. Hey, Kelly.
Hi, Susan.
Can you tell me a little bit about your artwork?
Yeah, I had the theme of kitschy Americana, so it's sort of like a vintage, like 1970s America.
That's cool.
That's what most of my pieces are based off of.
So how did you come up with that theme?
I was thinking about like the loss of innocence our culture had at one point, and sort of the like nice naivety that we had, and how we totally don't have that anymore, and that was sort of my basis.
Right, that's cool. How did you make this? This is really awesome.
That, I actually took a bowl and I took a hot glue gun and I covered the bowl with the hot glue, and then I painted it the same skin tone I used on the face.
And you did this too, right?
I did.
You said that?
Yeah, I used embroidery thread for that, and I did a hand stitch because I thought that as far as mediums went, that would sort of go with my theme pretty well. Sort of like something your grandmother would do.
Right.
You know. Yeah.
So what is your favorite medium to use?
Probably the embroidery. I like to sketch with just sort of like black ink and stuff, but embroidery was one of my favorite things to do in this show.
Can you tell us a little bit about the meaning behind this?
Yeah, that one was actually, I was working with a project for another art class about some sort of activism we were passionate about, and I was thinking about the corruption in the USDA and sort of the way farming used to be back in the day, this like really nice idea of an agrarian America, and how we lost that, and how it's supposed to be sort of ironic because you can't organically engineer anything. And that was kind of my idea behind it. But it looks nice on the outside, but it's actually not it. It's not possible.
Do you have a favorite piece?
It would probably be the Spam pillow, because
Yeah.
that one took the longest to do, and it was just really my favorite. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your artwork with us.
Thanks.
Hey, Tia.
Hello.
Hey, can I ask you a couple questions about your work?
Sure.
So, what was your theme?
My theme started off as being philosophy and psychology, and it was such a grand theme that I decided to pin it down to what frightens us. And it became deformities and such, as you can see with the eyeball man, and the three-headed girl, and how they all have something a little bit off about them.
Can you tell us a little bit about this triptych right here?
They originally came from my sketchbook. The middle one was the first one I did. Oh wait, no, that one was the first one I did, the Yellow Girls, which was supposed to be about anxiety, and that's what the three heads are for, to symbolize sort of like that she's all over the place and can't put her head in one place. And this one was the emotion of sadness, and the third one was anger. And the third one wasn't lifted from my sketchbook. That was a standalone. Just something I came up with on the fly.
For your bigger pieces, do you use a lot of your sketches in your sketchbook to make them bigger?
Yes, I do use my sketches for all of my big pieces except for the Siamese twins. They were just from reference, and obviously my self-portraits with my face. And, but the rest are usually from sketches on my head.
And can you tell us a little bit about this piece right there?
Well, when I was doing what friends is, I was looking at phobias, and I came up with one phobia. I don't know if I pronounced it correctly, but it's called cytophobia. It's the fear of food. So I decided to draw a girl who is obviously frightened by the desserts, and they seem like they're fine with it, but she sees like worms in it, and the snake, and an eyeball, and the cupcake, and such.
And did you run into any problems when you were making your artwork?
When it comes to acrylic paint, which were these two and the Siamese twins, it becomes a time problem. I just stay on one piece for so long, and I get sort of nitpicky, and that's one of the main problems that I have.
And do you have a favorite piece?
I like the three girls the most, and out of the three girls, I guess it's a tie between the blue girl and the yellow that I like the most out of them all. I think it's how I work most of the time, because in my sketchbook I do line work a lot, and I think
So it's most familiar.
Yeah, it's the most familiar piece I did all year, so it felt comfortable, and I did them the quickest, so it was a lot of fun.
And do you have any artists that inspire you at all?
I do. His name's Egon Schiele, and he does a lot of the sort of emaciated bodies and really disturbing drawings, and I just am really into it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I love these pieces. Hey, Bianca. Hi. Hey, can you tell us a little bit about your theme?
Sure. My theme is what society defines as what's considered ugly or beautiful, and yeah.
Awesome. What's your favorite medium to use? Because a lot of these are acrylic, but then there's sculpture too.
I think my favorite medium is probably acrylic paint, but I do love clay too, and I do love to combine the two.
And how do you create these brush strokes?
Mostly instead of being neat, I just sort of glob paint on and just keep globbing. I use a lot of paint and just glob it on.
And why did you choose these people to make portraits of?
I chose Mimi from the Drew Carey show because my theme was what society considers as beautiful. People always think that makeup would make you look nicer, it makes your face look nicer, and you would think that the more you use, the better you would look, but that's not always the case, and that's sort of what this painting was saying.
Awesome. And what about this one? Did you have any reference for that, or did it just come from your crazy mind?
Yeah, I guess it just came from my crazy mind. Yeah, it just came from my head.
And can you tell us a little bit about this one up there?
That's Jared Lee Loeffner. I'm not entirely sure why I chose to paint him. I just like the way he looks, I guess. I think he looks scary and kind of, I don't know, I just like it.
And for those people who don't know who he is, could you tell us a little bit about him?
He's the guy who shot up all of those people in Arizona, in Tucson.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Hey, Danielle. How are you? Great show. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
My theme was transition within metamorphosis, and I was just trying to connect everything and everything in the world and how it changes and how it has a connection to one another.
How did you come up with that theme?
It kind of led to me on its own because everything I was working on had a relation to one another, and so I kind of my theme kind of found me.
Can you tell us a little bit about this piece right here?
That's one of my first pieces. I did this in the beginning of September last year. It's supposed to be how everybody in the world is in their own, is going in their own pace, in their own direction, and somehow we're connected to each other.
Awesome. And you have a couple of pottery pieces right here. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
These were my first time like working on ceramics, and I just tried to like relate them to my theme with the changing circles and how they get larger and smaller. And then this is kind of like the metamorphosis of a butterfly with the chrysalis at the bottom and the caterpillar coming up the side.
You have a lot of circles in your work, right?
Yep. To represent repetition and movement.
This one is great. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
This is kind of based on the high school map and how we're all moving in a different direction and everything is like unique. Some places are unique and we're all related to one another and we just don't know it because we're all moving in our own direction.
Great. Did you have any artists that really inspired your work?
I liked a lot of Picasso's work because he changed a lot during his art periods, but they all had a kind of connection to it because each stage of his life helped him move to another, so I really liked his artwork.
Did you run into any problems when you were making your pieces?
I ran into a lot of problems. Some pieces didn't, like, I used a lot of different materials like metal and cloth, and some pieces didn't want to stay together because they're not meant to stay together. So challenging.
Well, awesome. Congratulations on your show.
Thank you.
And thank you for talking to us. Now we're going to talk to somebody you know a little bit about. Oh, hey, Susan. You look great today. I love your artwork. Can you tell me a little bit about it? Yeah, I dealt with isolation as my theme, and I basically focused on the individual and how a person deals with isolation and seclusion. So I see that you use a lot of different mediums. Could you tell me a little bit more about that? Yeah, I really like using different mediums and basically exploring different styles. I like, for example, with this one, I did a monoprint of newspaper, and then on top of that I used pen and acrylic. And I just really like combining different mediums too. I think that's really interesting. So also for this bigger piece right here, I used wire and I used graphing paper to collage all these different things that dealt with seclusion in a more imaginative way. And yeah, I just really like using different things and constantly exploring different concepts. Do you have any favorite pieces, and were any of the pieces more time-consuming than others? One of my favorite pieces has to be this one of Rhea. I was inspired by Hopper, the artist, and how he looked at the individual and how he looked at light and shadow. So basically, each of these people, they're my friend Rhea, and I used pictures I took of her as references for this piece. And so when I look at it, it kind of brings back memories of the photo shoot and how I transformed my pictures into this painting. I like this one too because it's really big and I'm not used to working in a large format. So also with this one, I like how depending on where you're standing, you kind of can see different things and you can be immersed into the crowd and it kind of like consumes you. As for the more time-consuming pieces, I would have to say the dolls were the most time-consuming because I sewed each one of them by hand, and that took a long time to do, and also with painting them and waiting for the paint to dry, so it was a pretty long task. Thank you, Susan. Well, that wraps it up here at the Butzel Gallery. Thank you so much for joining us here today. In closing, take a look at the other artwork that you didn't see here today.